Today on Stewart-Cox Family News. NYPD warning migrants. Governor Kathy Hochul is deploying National Guard with a NYC curfew towards the migrant crisis. Leave a comment below, and now let's see the clip.
Governor Kathy Hochul announcing that the state will be deploying an additional 150 National Guard members to assist with the migrant crisis.
Eric Adams announcing plans for a curfew on the Randall's Island migrant camp after two migrants assaulted a security guard. And then a migrant was stabbed to death there earlier this year. Remember that?
So today, in the wake of these latest attacks, I'm unveiling a 5-point plan. Point one, I'm redeploying nearly 1,000 members.
Today, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced new efforts to fight rising crime in New York City, which is up 13%, and that's just since last year. So Hochul is deploying 1,000 state personnel from the MTA, state police, even the National Guard to help the city.
Adams also changing his tune on the city's sanctuary status as the Big Apple faces a migrant crime wave. Watch.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes should have the privilege of being in our city.
Well, over 60,000 migrants remain in the care of New York City, and Governor Hochul is sending in reinforcements.
Today, she announced the National Guard will be deployed to assist in the ongoing migrant crisis.
This means that more than 2,000 Guard members have now been assigned to help deal with this crisis since October of 2022.
Right now, with the facts of what's going on, is NYPD Chief of Patrol, John Schell. Chief Schell, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
I want to explain, I want to talk to you about what's going on with this. You're seeing a new crime wave. There are 175,000 migrants in New York right now. Tell us about this new crime wave that you're experiencing.
Venezuelan gangs, increasingly a problem for NYPD. A violent criminal organization called Tren de Aragua recruits illegal migrants who arrived in New York City.
It is a right to live in this city, and you should be not committing crimes in our city.
The problem spurring New York Mayor Eric Adams to make a drastic political pivot.
We need to modify the sanctuary city law that if you commit a felony, a violent act, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported.
If these changes proposed by Adams had already been in place, ICE could have deported the Venezuelan illegal migrant Jose Antonio Ibarra before he left New York City for Athens, Georgia, where he's charged with the murder of 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. Ibarra had previously been arrested in New York City for child endangerment, but was released.
Our country let this woman down. Unfortunately, though, as I said, she's not going to be the last. What more do we need as a nation to stop the chaos and lawlessness at our border?
This comes as new Gallup polling records a record high 55% of Americans see illegal immigration as a critical threat.
More unidentified migrants in this country can often mean more crime. We need to know who is here.
The same poll also finding Americans are most likely to say immigration is the most important problem facing the U.S.
New Yorkers need to send a clear message to our elected leaders. Demand better from our criminal justice system.
Yeah, so I think that first of all, what Eric Adams has to do is arrive at a clear and consistent message about migrants that unifies the Democratic Party in New York City. And he struggled with that. You know, one day it's this, one day it's that.
One day it's blame the White House, the next day, you know.
And I think that this is actually an attempt to start to do that.
The topic of New York's sanctuary city status remains in the headline. We're going to hear from Mayor Adams tonight. The mayor has been speaking out against it.
The mayor's shift in opinion on sanctuary laws follows a series of high-profile crimes in which many of the accused suspects are newly arrived asylum seekers. Many times this week, he argued that current policies are a detriment to public safety. Mayor Adams on Tuesday called for more cooperation between federal immigration officials and local police, supporting the idea of them working together to deport migrants who are suspected of serious crimes.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes should have the privilege of being in our city.
The city first began limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities in the 1980s. But in 2014, under Mayor Bill de Blasio, City Council added teeth to previous executive orders, passing a law that prohibits law enforcement from honoring ICE detainer requests if a foreign national has been charged with a crime but not convicted.
The mere fact we cannot share with ICE that this person has committed 3 robberies, that this person is part of an organized gang crew. Mere fact we can't say that and can't communicate with that, that's problematic for me.
Mayor, a very direct and political question. When you look at President Biden, you look at former President Trump, and you look at the migrant crisis that you are facing,
well, I think
which one do you believe will ultimately help you solve that crisis faster?
I am a supporter of the president, and I think when you do an analysis of this issue of immigration, this is an issue that has been played out too long on the political stage of our country. It has to be resolved. It's one of the top issues that voters are looking at. I think that we can solve it now by taking some very clear steps, such as the decompression strategy, funding these cities, allowing migrants and asylum seekers to work. We did almost 25,000 with work authorization and TPS. When it was recently expanded, we can go even further to some of the other cities and municipalities.
Mr. Mayor, I've seen you can imagine it's been dredged up from 2019, and it was President Biden basically sounded like something from the Statue of Liberty. Bring us your tired messes. This is why we're here. If you want to come here for a better life, come here. We want you to come. Then he rescinded, 90 executive orders at that time. I mean, it's clear where the 7.2 million, I think we can at least ascribe some cause and effect to those comments and getting rid of all the executive orders. Do you think the president could reinstitute, put some of those executive orders with the sign of a pen back on, and would that help? Would you urge him to do that to help your situation?
The most important thing I believe we could do during this crisis is allow people to work. Everyone who passed through the Statue of Liberty came here, and even if it was a menial job, it gave them the dignity and respect that everyone that here deserves. Think about it for a moment. Do you know we don't even hear about the Ukrainian citizens that arrived here? We have a large Ukrainian population after the war that's here in New York City. You don't hear about them. You know why? They have the authorization to work. We gave them the financial support that they deserve. We did the right thing for them. We should do the same for those who are coming from South, Central America, and other parts of the globe. That consistency will resolve this issue that we're facing.
NYPD Chief of Patrol, John Schell. Chief Schell, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
I want to explain, I want to talk to you about what's going on with this. You're seeing a new crime wave. There are 175,000 migrants in New York right now. Tell us about this new crime wave that you're experiencing.
Well, what we've been seeing with the migrants and the crime wave, if you will, is robberies and purse snatches on mopeds, which we took care of. We'll talk about in a moment. We're seeing pickpockets on the train, pickpockets in Times Square. We're seeing domestic violence, and most recently, we're seeing mob-like activity. People going to stores, Bloomingdale's, Sunglass, LensCrafters just the other day, snatching glasses and fleeing the store.
I saw that video of the same thing at an Apple store.
Correct.
They go in like a mob and they just start taking everything.
Correct. So this is what we're seeing right now, but just like any other crew, if you will, a group of people, we don't care who you are, but when the moped robberies and purse snatches were taking effect earlier this year, we arrested all of them. And guess what? We don't see it anymore. So we have some crews with the migrants committing crime. We're going to deal with them like any other crime wave we have and put them in jail. And quite frankly, what the mayor just said, if you come to this country seeking the American dream, and while you're waiting for your status to be upgraded, and you're committing violent crimes against New Yorkers or this country, you should be put in jail, and once that term is over, you forfeit the right to the American dream and get out of our country.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you talk like this, Chief, because this is exactly how most people feel. It's how I felt when I saw that illegal come out of being processed and give everybody the finger. And I'm thinking, why isn't this guy on a plane back to wherever he came from right now? What is he doing, giving us the finger now?
A complete slap on our face. And also gives the migrants who are here who want to seek the American dream, who want to work and want to contribute, gives them a bad name. We're talking about a small group of people, not the whole 170,000. But we're going to deal with it, and you're not going to harm New York City. You're not going to harm this country. We're going to try to put you in jail like any other group. And like I said, you forfeit that right.
Well, the NYPD seems a lot tougher on this. You're dealing with it. You're in the front lines than the judges, than the DAs. Do you think you're resonating? Because I know that as soon as you said this is about no consequences, I notice all of a sudden we hear a comment from Kathy Hochul, and all of a sudden we start hearing comments from other people. You and your team are doing this every single day. Do you think you're resonating and changing what's going on in terms of the DA level?
Sometimes. Let's talk about recidivism. Okay, I'm going to give you two critical stats here. We talk about retail theft. In New York City in 2023, 542 people were locked up for theft. Were locked up 7,600 times. How in God's name does this happen? We saw last week the transit conductor sliced on his neck. One more inch, we're having a different conversation. All right? Doing his job. Last year, 38 people locked up for assaulting transit workers, mostly conductors. They were arrested a combined 1,100 times. What is going on? What has changed? Well, I'll tell you what's changed. Bail reform changes. Now, some parts of bail reform is good, but let's talk about discovery. The DAs privately applaud us because discovery thrust upon them. They cannot do their job efficiently. Let's talk about judges. If the judges is not going to accept the bail request for recidivism and let people walk out the door, that's hurting their community. The judges are part of the process. I'm part of the process. The district attorney is part of the process. The judge is part of the process. Our elected officials are part of the process. And if you disagree with what's going on, like most of us do, then the change you want, vote for the change you want. Because pre-2020, we didn't have this issue of recidivism. We could deal with it. Now it's harder and harder. And it's hurting our city. And you want to know why transit crime is up? Recidivism.
Unbelievable. This is the kind of conversation that is going to change things. Thank you for being so adamant about this and for telling the truth and for fighting for New Yorkers. That's what you and your team are doing. We've got this new John Jay College of Criminal Justice study on bail reform. It finds the number of repeat offenses increased as a result of the New York soft on crime policies. In the suburbs and upstate, 66% of those released under bail reform with a recent prior arrest were arrested again within 2 years. How do they not know this? You just said this. You live it. Nearly half of the defendants were rearrested for a felony. Under New York's current bail law, there is no money, bail, or jail time for most misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies leading up to trial. So, Chief, that's the point. There's no consequences.
Correct, and there's no consequences, and you have recidivism. Do whatever I want. No, we can't have this anymore. We have to go after recidivism. You just gave out some great stats. I'll give you one more. People locked up for felonies. 60 days later, they're locked up for another felony. What world is this that we're living in? When the process works, it's fantastic. When there's a breakdown of the process, you know what stuff is? The everyday New Yorker going to work and about their business. Yeah. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a cop by day. I'm a family man at night. I have children out in the streets working, taking the trains like everybody else. I suffer from this also. Yeah. You know, enough is enough. We are going on the offensive. We're going to start calling people out respectfully. Do your job. If everyone does their job, I'm out here talking to you this morning.
I'm so glad you said that. Chief, I want to get your take on something that a senator told me is about to blow up, and that is human trafficking. And I want to see what you're seeing in that regard. I spoke with Kansas Senator Roger Marshall on Sunday, and he told me that the Chinese Communist Party is working with the drug cartels, and they're getting people in over the border, and then once they're in America, they need to pay up. They need to pay the drug dealers. And how are they paying up? They're working in these massage parlors. Here's Roger Marshall. Watch this.
We're seeing an explosion of human trafficking. The Chinese Triad, which is an organized crime unit, a multinational, been around for hundreds of years, is behind this. And wherever you're seeing fentanyl trafficking, you're going to see human trafficking explode as well. We have more massage parlors than we do Starbucks now in Kansas. And certainly I think that can be said in most every state. So this Chinese Triad, I mean, they are sophisticated. Your listeners need to understand that this is not the dirty workers like the cartel. The cartel is doing the dirty work, but the Chinese triad is very sophisticated, Harvard-trained lawyers, Harvard-trained accountants that master the money laundering part of this. So you're going to see massage parlors spring up, and then next to them might be a restaurant, it might be a hair salon, a nail salon, those types of things.
He says all of these businesses being started up are fronts for human trafficking. Are you seeing that in New York, Chief?
Absolutely, whether it be Asian or immigrant coyotes that women have to pay back. These women are 100% victims. It's terrible. Where are we seeing this mostly? In Queens, Roosevelt Avenue. We have shut down this year about 13 brothels that are a mixture of Asian workers and migrant workers. And we're still going after it. And it's terrible. The community applauds us for it. And we're trying to help these women who are victims of these people. It's terrible. The Queens DA is working with us very well with this. The local elected officials are working with us. But it's a problem. We see it.
Wow.
And we're dealing with it.
That is incredible, Chief, that you're seeing that in New York as well. I was so stunned by Roger Marshall there. Talk to us about the drugs. The drugs are also coming in through the southern border. You see increasingly fentanyl laced in everything.
So right now, the common mixture of cocaine, heroin, there's going to be fentanyl in it. Small doses, 2 grams can kill you, 2 grams.
Wow.
We have seized as a city 800 kilos of pure fentanyl in the last 2 years with a street value of $32 million.
Wow.
It is so dangerous, and fentanyl does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, where you are, from New York City to the Jersey Shore to wherever else. 2 grams of a young person just using it, maybe peer pressure, can kill you, can literally kill you. It is so scary, this fentanyl, that we have Narcan with us. When we're around fentanyl, we have to wear masks. The drug dealers notice, and the people buying it on the street don't know this. It's terrible.
This is unbelievable.
It's terrible.
And it's coming, the underlying components from communist China.